In this video, we're going to be working on this Honda PA50 moped. So we picked this up in another video and I will link that above for you guys if you guys are just stopping in for the first time. We picked this thing up for a heck of a deal, but it has not ran in, I was told, about a year, but who knows. But it's in excellent shape. So it's a 1979 model and it's a PA51. So there's a few different models of these. There's a PA51 and 2, and this one is a little bit slower. From the research, it's about 20 miles per hour top speed, but it's still a 49cc moped, and right now it doesn't have spark. So we're gonna see if we can get this thing running. We haven't even tried cleaning it up yet, but I think first things first, we need to figure out why it doesn't have spark and see if we can get it running. Then we can work on trying to clean it up, but this thing is in amazing shape, you guys. Has the original Honda seat with not a single tear in it. The leather is still plush. It's not all cracked. I think this thing's gonna clean up well, but I wanna get this thing running as soon as possible. We'll see if we can get it done in this episode. So let's jump straight into it, show you guys what it's doing now, and then we'll go from there. So the key switch is in the run position. Our kill switch is in the run position, but when we try to turn this thing over, it has good compression, but no spark. So what we're gonna do is, this thing has a points ignition system. I'm gonna start taking some of these covers off before we get into the points. Sometimes these switches can be the problem. So we're gonna try bypassing some of the switches, see if we get spark. If not, then we'll move on to the points and see if they're dirty, they need to be cleaned or adjusted. All right, so you can see we've got the fairings off. We've got the one on this side. We've got our little footrest cover on both sides removed, and also this side cover. Tank is off. And what I think we should start with is, let's pop off the flywheel here and check underneath, and we'll clean the points. We have no idea what the history is on this, and it's good general maintenance, and this is essentially where the electricity is coming from, so we might as well start from the forefront. Even if there isn't anything wrong with this, we'll check the gap on the points and we'll also clean them, make sure everything's good there. So let's zip this off. This is 17 mil, and then we can take the flywheel off. So these are just normal threads. And we'll pop this sucker off. She's definitely got on here with some magnetic force. And let's check it out. So right here I've got 0.356 millimeters. That's the closest one I have, or 14th thou. And essentially, I'm no expert at this, you guys, but from everything, what happens is this rides on a little cam lobe on the actual crankshaft, and you can see this opens here and closes. So when it's fully open, right there, the gap between that point, we're gonna put our feeler gauge in here and check it. And you can see this is supposed to be the tolerance, and it is kind of loose in my opinion. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna tighten that up just a little bit, and the way we're gonna do that is there's a little Phillips screw right here. We're gonna loosen that, and then we're gonna close this gap up, and then we'll recheck it just so this is just snug. It looks fairly clean, but we'll wipe that off as well and go from there. All right, so I've loosened this screw, this Phillips screw, and you can use a flat essentially to move this over. So this plate here will move either direction, and now I've tightened it up a little bit so that our 14th thou is nice and snug in here, but we can fit it in here nice. And so what I'm gonna do is tighten back up this Phillips screw, see if it made any difference. Again, we're just going through everything, and also we'll clean it off a bit. All right, so we've cleaned it off and just cleaned everything up, used a little bit of brake clean, and now I'm gonna go ahead and put this back on, and rather than try to kick this thing over, we will put the nut on there and try to run it with a drill. Okay, so we got our drill, and still no spark, boys. So let me move on to the next thing and see if I can diagnose this. Well, check this out. I just found a little clue. So no spark, but we've got power coming out of this thing. So we are closer, one step closer to figuring this out. Let's see if the taillight works. I don't see any tail light. I don't know how that works, but the bulb could be burnt out for all we know. So we're generating power. Now we got to figure out why we're not generating spark. Could be something to do with the kill switch, but so far, good sign. All right, so I've been messing with this quite a bit. Our coil does appear to be good. So there's one wire that runs out of it. It's a black with a white stripe, and it runs over there. What you can do is take a little 9-volt battery. I read this online. We've got our spark plug here, and to test our coil to make sure that isn't the issue, you could take one more lead and put it on the 9-volt battery, but I can just hold it here and tap it here. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but you can see the spark plug sparking when I do that. So hopefully you guys can see that. So that works. So essentially it's just not getting the signal and the power is not coming through to our spark plug wire. So I'm gonna keep investigating. Apparently there's 3 different coils in here that control different things. So one for the lights, and then one for the spark. So potentially maybe one of these is bad. I hope not, or hopefully it's just some other issue, but I'll get to the bottom of it, and I'll let you guys know how I find it and what I find. All right, so it does look like we don't have power generating out of our system here. This is the black wire with the yellow right here. And then I have a test light connected to it. So we should be seeing some sort of power. When I turn this over, and I got the other side of the test light. I've tried it both on the ground coming out of our wires, and I've also, from our generator, and I've also tried putting it directly on the case. Doesn't seem to make a difference, but when I turn it over, the test light, got no power coming out of that there. So let me dig into this. Something's gonna be going on in here, it looks like, because we've bypassed all the switches and everything, which I've also checked a lot of them inside the headlight, the connections there, and it appears we don't have power right from the source. Okay, so what I just did, you guys, is remove the actual little points mechanism. And kind of interesting, somebody has been in here fussing about with this little screw. So what this bolt, essentially, I'm calling it screw, but bolt, it goes through and you'll see it has some insulated washers. And what it's doing is it's connecting this little arm to the bolt to part of the generator. And this bolt has to be isolated off the actual bracket. So I have my multimeter set to continuity, and you'll see here to the arm, I have continuity off the bolt, but not to the bracket. So the bracket itself. So here we go. On the bracket, when the point closes, you got continuity, opens, no continuity. But the way they had it set up, they had rearranged all these washers and stuff so that the lead was just straight up shorted out. So I don't know if it's gonna make a difference, but I clean everything up, we'll reassemble it, see what happens. All right, so I've got the wire connected here, and just to double check, when the point opens. So let's reinstall this and see if it makes any difference. Okay, we've got it reinstalled, and interestingly enough, I do recall when I checked the black with the yellow wire that comes out of here that leads to this, it was shorting out to ground, which would make sense if they had this the wrong way. So anyways, I've got my points adjusted, put the feeler gauge in there, everything's clean as you can see. I gotta finish putting in these screws here, and then I can put my flywheel back in and we can see if we got anything. Oh, you guys, so here we go. We got the test light coming out of the black with the yellow wire out of here and to ground, and look at the test light now. Spark! Okay, so next stage, let's connect it to our coil and see if we get spark here. All right, so now we got our black with the white connected to the black with the yellow. We've got spark. Heck yeah. All right, let me connect all of the electrical over here because I've got everything disconnected, and make sure that we still have everything working, but we are on a pathway to success. Okay guys, so I connected all the wires that go to our switch and the kill switch, and now everything works. So watch, right here, everything is on. If I use the drill, we got spark. If I go over here, kill switch, no spark. Turn this back on, spark. Turn this one off, no spark. So everything's working as it should. Now it's just a matter of probably cleaning the carburetor, cleaning the tank, and putting some fuel in this and seeing what happens. All right, so we're just cleaning out the tank a little bit, and not only that, but what we are doing is the little petcock that goes on the tank itself. I think it might have been O-rings originally, but I'm gonna put some O-rings in this. There's a seal that goes here that's just completely flat at this point after however many years. So I'm gonna find some appropriate O-rings so that this can go on here, and then we can throw this on. Again, who knows what's gonna happen with this, but might as well try it. We'll see how she goes. If not, we'll pull the carb off, but kind of just want to see if it'll fire up the way she is. All right, so I found an O-ring that fits there. I just took out the little switch as far as reserve and stuff, and she's packed full of a bunch of junk, and then the main is completely just blocked off. So I'm gonna clean that off because obviously no fuel's gonna flow through that right now, so I'm gonna clean this out. All right, well, based on how everything's looking in here, I'm gonna go ahead and just pop the carb off because I bet you that thing is just as filthy since this is just jammed full of nonsense. Might as well. I was thinking maybe we'd fire it up, but I'm gonna pop this off. So in order to get to the carburetor, we have to take out this bolt here, and the frame essentially is gonna lift off the engine. Then once we do that, then we can get to, I think it's just 2 bolts, yeah. 2 bolts hold the carb on, other than the throttle cable, of course. And then we can take the carb out. All right, so it's a 17 mil head bolt and nut that run through there. Then you can lift up the front like you see here, and that, from what I've seen, should give us enough access to get into here. So we'll go ahead, we can take out this Phillips screw for our throttle cable, and then we gotta take off the little air box, and then we can hopefully get this out. Okay, so actually there's 4 10 mil bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I just used a little air hose, blew that out. I disconnected our throttle cable so we can slide this out of here, and then we can disconnect it, because that way we don't have to mess with our air box, which is part of this whole assembly and the whole shebang. So let me take out these 4 10 mil bolts, and then I think we can lift out our carburetor from the air box. Okay, carb is out. Okay, so carb actually looks really clean, you guys. So my guess is somebody, whoever was in with the point system, took apart the carb and cleaned it already, but messed up the points and never got it running. So it never ended up really passing gas through. But gonna clean up all this, and the filters. Also went and just picked up a little filter, because obviously the tank's gonna probably have some rust in it over all these years. So I'm gonna use this filter as well. So not only are we gonna rely on the OEM filters, but this one, so we can probably replace this a few times. That way our carb, after we clean the carb, doesn't get gummed up, and we can just use a few of these throwaways. So I'm gonna clean everything up and I'll reassemble it. All right, so the carb is back together and I cleaned it. I'm sure you guys probably can figure that out. Really, I just used carb cleaner, ran it through all the jets, took out the needle and ran it through all the passages, and it was already pretty clean prior anyways. And then on this, I just rebuilt it. I used some O-rings. The actual filter that was on here, it started crumbling when I tried to clean it, so we're just gonna use that other filter. So like I said, this was the original one, and it's literally just crumbling away. So I just took it out completely, put a new O-ring in here, and hopefully this thing doesn't leak. We'll see what happens. So I'm gonna go ahead and install this in the tank. We'll put the carb back on. It's held on by those 4 bolts. We got new fuel line. We got a little fuel filter. So let me install this and we'll see what happens. Okay, so I mixed up a little bit of pre-mix. I've got our carb back on, tank back on. I'm probably gonna try to finalize this somewhere. It's there really isn't much room in here to fit this, and I also have to be able to make room for the choke. But we're gonna put a little bit of premix in here. The only kind of iffy thing is just that fuel petcock. Not sure how that's gonna work out. Hopefully it doesn't leak like a sieve, but we'll find out in a second here. This is gonna be my only concern really, is whether I'm gonna have to try to source out one of these or parts for it, because like I said, I had to use O-rings and stuff that try to make it work, but we'll see what happens. Like I said, I'm not sure which way is what on this thing, you guys. Oh, we got fuel coming through, so and I don't see any leaks, we'll run that. Heck yeah, if that works, I'll be super happy. All right, so I got a little bit of fuel in it, you guys. No leaks out of this after putting new O-rings in that, so that's good. And then I'm gonna have to fasten this, like I said, and I don't know how much fuel we have in it as far as our levels here, but our fuel filter, it's got some nice clean looking gas in it because we have those filters plus this filter, so no junk's gonna get into our carburetor. Let's go ahead and see if she'll start up. I'm gonna use this since it seems a lot easier than pedaling. We'll try her out, see what happens. Let's see what happens, you guys. I almost feel like it was trying to start there. Oh, shoot. Let's go. It is, you guys. She's running. I need to run the choke. Definitely a two-stroke. I don't know when the last thing this thing was running, but try to keep her running. So probably gonna have to adjust the carb a little bit, you guys, but she moves. A lot of condensation coming out of it. This thing probably hasn't ran in forever. Headlight works and taillight works. Man, I gotta put a tube in this thing. Let me get a tube in it and put the fairing back on. Maybe we can go rip it, a little night rip. All right, you guys, I'm just like too excited. I just put all the covers back on. You guys didn't miss anything. So covers are back on, and I'm gonna go ahead and replace the flat front tube and maybe go for a little night rip. It's nighttime out, but I'm like too excited to ride this silly little thing. Works, boys. Speedo works and everything. Headlights work, even the high beam, low beam works. See the little light come on for a high beam. Little night cruise on the Honda scooter. All right, guys, so this thing now runs. It runs great, and we are gonna continue to work on this. Comment down below what you guys like best about this project and what you would like to see on this thing. So as you can see, I still have not cleaned it to its full potential. So we're gonna be detailing this thing and possibly be getting it ready for sale. Well, most likely be getting it ready for sale and do a flip. So if you guys want to see and for me to document the whole process of that, you can kind of see how you can pick something up off Facebook Marketplace, buy it, get it running, and flip it. If you guys are interested in that whole thing, it's kind of how it pays for some of the other toys, just a little bit of a side hustle here. If you're interested in that, let me know down below and I can make those videos for you guys. But if you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. It's free, helps out the channel. We'll see you guys on the next one.